Astros podcast, your home for all things Astros. With your hosts, sports writer Jeff Balke and Astros broadcaster and former third baseman Jeff Blum. Now, here's Balke and Blummer.
What is up, Astros fans, and welcome to episode 78 of the Believe in Astros podcast on the Believe Podcasting Network. I'm Jeff Balke alongside my partner Jeff Blum, prepping for a series with the Mariners after a very successful weekend and first part of the week. Blummer, how are you doing this morning?
Pretty good. It's good to be back in town, at least for a brief little bit. And it's nice that the Astros are winning ball games despite all the injuries. And as we sit here and speak, 2 games back of the West.
Unbelievable, man. Like, just a crazy... And we're going to talk about that. That is on my list this morning because just the insanity of what we have seen this season, it boggles the mind, really, when you start thinking about everything that's been happening. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, and YouTube. Give us a follow on Twitter, as long as it's there. I mean, no.
Did you know there's a new social media app out there?
I'm on it. Threads. Yes.
There you go. I just found out about that this morning.
It launched last night, attached to Instagram. Look, it's still Meta. It's Mark Zuckerberg. But, I kind of made a comment this morning. I sort of feel like I'd rather have a devil than the devil. So, Twitter's just imploding upon itself because of its own mismanagement. And so, you gotta do what you gotta do. I will say this, all of the other ones like Blue Sky and Mastodon, which I've tried out, they pale in comparison to what Threads will be able to do because Threads is connected to your Instagram.
Yeah, so I do kind of enjoy that. Instagram's been my go-to, but yeah, I'm kind of curious.
Instagram is the best one out there, for sure, of all the social media. So I would believe in Astros has an Instagram, so we'll probably soon have a Threads as well.
There you go.
I mean, may as well. I thought you can find me at Jeff Balke and Blummer at Blummer27 on all of those aforementioned social media networks. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can be alerted to new videos. And thanks to everyone who's given us 5 stars and left us reviews on Apple. Obviously, we loved seeing comments and questions, particularly like the new fun game, Who's Pitching Today?
Oh, man.
I mean, talk about crazy. We don't know, actually, at this point. It's Tuesday morning, a little after 9 a.m. And I'm probably Renel Blanco, I think, maybe.
Probably Fromber. I don't know.
We don't know. It was supposed to be Christian Javier. It's obviously not. Anyway, we'll dig into that in a second. First, let's start with the Rangers series, just because not only did they win 3 out of 4, which was a huge deal, but it was really weird. I mean... They lost the one game I was at. Coincidence? I hope not. With Hunter Brown on the mound. But then they scratched Framber Valdez for a start, starting Sean Dubin, who went 4 innings. And then the offense went ballistic. And then we had a crazy closing game with Javier getting blown up yet again as he continues to be on the struggle bus. And they still won. I remember looking at the game. I typed onto Twitter, this game sucks at some point, late in the game. And then they still won. Just a wild series, but ultimately a successful one for the Astros. So big win in Dallas.
No, that was huge. Last season we marked the calendar when the Astros were going to go through New York and play – I think, 6 games on the row, 4 in Yankee Stadium, 2 against the New York Mets in Shea Stadium. That's where I played back in the day at Citi Field. But this season, it was kind of this road trip where you were going to go through the LA Dodgers. You're going to find yourself finishing the series against the Texas Rangers. And that was after we found out the Texas Rangers were going to be leading the division. So that's where you kind of marked it on your calendar at that mid-season point. Where do we measure up? And they go in there and take 3 out of 4. There's so many different factors in that Arlington series that kind of stuck out to me. The first is they've never sold out that stadium until the Astros showed up. So, Astro fans, kudos to you. Tip of the cap, hats off, whatever you want to say. Golf clap, man, outstanding show of character, getting up there to Arlington and representing your Houston Astros. So kudos to you, number one. Number two, we had watched the Rangers from afar and understood their offense is incredible. I'll give them that. They've been on a heater for 81, 82 games now. And the Astros come in and if they pitch well, they can suppress the offense, which I found encouraging. Yes. And the other side of it was the fact that the pitching staff for the Texas Rangers, we had been watching them from afar going, man, okay, the starting pitching is okay. Nathan Eovaldi, badass this year, doing a great job. But the bullpen is terrible. They did pick up Aroldis Chapman while we were there, and we could see why, because their bullpen is not good at all, and the pitching is the real weakness of the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, it was a fascinating series to watch, and I was one of the people in attendance. Blummer, thank you for that. It was I will tell you this, it was 1-1 Astros to Rangers jerseys. There's no doubt. I mean,
I completely agree.
It was 50-50. Like when we walked in, my buddy and I walked in, my buddy Frank and I, we started strolling into the ballpark, into Globe Life Field. And we're like, the first thing we thought is when we were getting out of the Uber up there, we're like, are we going to be like in a sea of Rangers fans, like wanting to murder us?
I know, right?
The first thing we saw was a family wearing Astros jerseys, every single one of them. I was really surprised. I mean, not 100% surprising to me, but kind of surprising that there were that many Astros fans in attendance. I know a number of people who were there, who I saw on Twitter and other places, saying they had made the drive up to Dallas. It was a really cool showing by fans, no doubt. And you're 100% right on their pitching. I mean, their bullpen is not good. And you said this earlier in the season. You said, kudos to you for saying that you felt like the Rangers were going to come back to the pack at some point, that they couldn't keep hitting like this, although they're pretty damn good in their starting lineup. But you said they weren't going to be able to continue hitting like this, and eventually their pitching was going to catch up to it. And it feels like it has. And don't look now, but between now and the next time we meet the Rangers in 2 or 3 weeks here, it's a pretty light schedule for the Astros. And then it's pretty difficult schedule for the Rangers. The next time they come to Minute Maid, we could be in the division lead.
Absolutely.
Fingers crossed. So it's a wild season, obviously, and a very long one, but this is a microcosm of that for sure.
Yeah, and I don't want to discount the fact that the Astros went in there, flipped the switch, went in there, kicked some ass, and took 3 out of 4 to make it even more interesting in the American League West. And doing it without some serious key factors. Like you said, Javier showed up, but did he really? Framber Valdez gets skipped. You're relying on rookie pitchers that went out there and did a phenomenal job. And then you got timely hitting. How about the fact that Kyle Tucker basically swung himself into the All-Star game. Oh my gosh. This dude, that last homestand and then that road trip and then the beginning of this homestand against the Colorado Rockies, he swung himself into an all-star spot. So kudos to him and great job. And how about the fact that the 3-4 hitters for the Houston Astros and Jose Abreu, Kyle Tucker basically carried this team?
You are absolutely reading my mind. I have in my notes here about both of those guys, about how Kyle Tucker is basically an all-star because of what he's done the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
It's been unbelievable. And well, let's jump to that. I want to talk about the pitchers. I'm wearing my pitching ninja hat today because I want to talk a little bit about
trying to get them good vibes.
That's right. But I want to jump to the hitting because, like we said, I think you're right. Kyle Tucker added to the All-Star game. Mike Trout has a broken hamate bone, which is, by the way, a hamate bone always kind of makes me laugh because it just doesn't sound like what it is.
Yeah.
But he broke a hamate bone. So Tucker will be on the All-Star team with Valdez and Alvarez, although Alvarez obviously isn't going to play. But if you look at some of the numbers I just picked 4 guys who over the last 15, 20 games. So, and I'm not even Tucker's included because we know what Tucker has done.
Yainer.
Right? Yes. So let's start with Abreu. In the last 20 games, Jose Abreu is hitting .304. His OPS is .882. He's got 4 home runs and 16 RBIs. Chas McCormick in the last 15, he's hitting 305 with an 895 OPS, 3 homers, 11 RBIs. Corey Julks, ladies and
Oh,
gentlemen, 373 with a 467 on base and a
whose house?
957 a Cougs house. 957 OPS. By the way, 9 walks to only 8 strikeouts during that period of time. Huge deal. He's seeing the ball. And then yes, Yainer Diaz. 281 in the last 15 games, 281 with an 870 OPS, 5 homers and 10 RBIs, 7 home runs in his last 20. First of all, before we dig in on Yainer, Chas McCormick, I think, has answered the question of who's going to be your regular outfielder. I mean, the guy has now. I kind of like the occasional defensive alignment of him playing in left.
Oh yeah,
and Myers playing in center. I think that's a real, especially late in games. But Chas is just not going to cover off the ball. You cannot keep him out.
I hope you're right. We'll have to wait and see because we know that Dusty manipulates that lineup the way he wants to manipulate it, and I know that some of the metrics defensively kind of favor Jake Myers out in center field, but at the same time, I think if you can find your moments. It's so hard to put Chas in left field and Jake Myers in center when you've got Corey Julks Julksomania going crazy.
I know.
And so you want to put, if you had the alignment of Chas McCormick in center, Corey Julks in left, Yainer Diaz DHing or behind the plate, whatever you want to do. I mean, those are 3 power bats in the middle of that lineup or late in that lineup even. Shoot, these guys are hitting 6, 7, 8 in the lineup. When they're in there, and it really creates a unique dynamic that stretches this lineup out. And I think what's fantastic about that is you've got Chas, he's obviously got experience, 2 or 3 years under his belt, World Series hero with the catch and what he's been able to do. So he's experienced the moment. But you have 2 rookies in Corey Julks and Yainer Diaz, and it might be safe to say in spring training, maybe Yainer was on the radar, but not necessarily an impact player like he is right now.
Right.
Corey Julks was nowhere on that radar. He was a great player, made the adjustment. His story is amazing, and he's playing for his hometown team. So it was that feel-good story. Now you're like, dude, this guy he's awesome. Let's get him in the lineup and see what he can do. And he continues to go out there and produce. He's leading the team, or at least tied, I think, with 14 stolen bases with Kyle Tucker. I didn't see that coming. He has developed into a big league player. And I think that's what's most fun to watch is watch Yainer and Corey Julks developing in front of our eyes. And I think I said this the other day, or maybe it might have been on a radio show, or I can't remember where it was, but I was talking about how these rookies are having impacts, but their at-bats are different than other rookies around the leagues because they're playing for the Houston Astros in contention. So not only are they trying to establish themselves, they're having high leverage at-bats on a daily basis, which I think is making them better ball players.
I think you're completely right about that. Julks, I mean, I've liked Julks since day one. I was shocked when he made – I think everybody was kind of surprised when he made the 40-man roster. But – listen, he has done nothing but produce. I mean, the fact that he is in his last 15, 467 on base is crazy, especially when you consider, like you said, he's tied with the team in steals. I mean, when you put those kind of numbers together, and also he plays a really good left field.
Oh, man,
right? He's
more than confident,
He's made a couple of base running mistakes here and there, which obviously they can clean up, but it's rookie stuff. And just really impressive between him and Yainer. And I know we've got the weirdness of Yainer. Will he catch? Will he won't catch? But I do think it does give the Astros in the second half, as we've passed the midway point now, lots of opportunities.
As long as we're handing out, all these, applauds and street cred, whatever you want to props, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Dana Brown, Dusty Baker, management, whoever decided to put Corey Julks on this roster, congratulations, nice move.
Yeah, that was a tremendous move, and when like you said, none of us saw coming. And I'll tell you, when you look at those guys, you also it does just make the team better in the second half. because now you have
Yes.
options out there.
Oh.
Like if you want to sit, look, there could be a game where you play Julks and Myers in center field, and you DH, and you DH Chaz, right, to give Jordan a day off or something. Like there are so many options that they have now in terms of playing guys that I think it really does open things up. And I don't think anybody would have expected that on a team that's contending, which the Astros are. The only question I have is what in God's name is the Chaz dance? And can someone give the man some help? I'm not sure. Can we just assist him? Just Julia danced. Her brother's a dancer,
I know.
right?
Her
brother's like a kind of a famous dancer. Get him
Her
in
dad's
Houston.
got skills.
Does he really? I didn't know that. See, there you go.
That family is talented. Yeah, get somebody in there. And Chaz, you know what? This is going to sound terrible, but he set himself up for this because he hit a home run, came back, did a little bit of a move, and we're like, oh, hey, check this out. Chaz got a little dance. And then he proceeded to hit more home runs, and he's not prepared. So, it's
you're right.
He's a victim of his own success.
You're right. It's like he comes out there with this weird little robot thing. It's like, okay, that was kind of cool. Honestly, we just saw Hank Conger, right? As a first base coach. Break out the Conger bot.
Oh, please.
Break out
if
the
Chazzy
Conger
bot shows up, I'm in.
Oh, 100%. I mean, look, Chaz has gotten so much fun that even the Chaz Chomp guys are throwing out the first pitch of the baseball game. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that. I mean,
that's incredible.
I mean, it's
selfishly, I just want him to do the James Harden or the Ezekiel Elliott, feed me because I'm always screaming meatloaf after every friggin' home run he hits. So he's eating the meatloaf. Let's go.
You are screaming meatloaf. What was the one you called Chaz the other day? Because I know TK calls him Chazmanian Devil. You had one. My buddy texted me and said that was a good one. I don't remember what it was.
Well, he made a catch, and I said that was Chaz-tastic, and that one was kind of cool.
That was pretty strong. Look, he has been fantastic. Julks has been and honestly, Abreu is finally looking like Abreu.
God, he looks good. Yeah,
he really does. I mean, even his expected. I just saw somebody posted his expected OPS was it's like a straight line up from where it was. I mean, it's just like rank, like that's all, so even when he's not getting a hit, he's just powering through. It's kind of incredible. So I want to give some love to some of these pitchers because look, setting aside Framber Valdez, who's been outstanding, and Hunter Brown, who's been very good for a rookie. I mean, we've been seeing. I mean, first of all, JP France, not Ty France. JP France. I'm not going to make that mistake again. JP France is a legitimate Major League Baseball starting pitcher. There's no more guessing about it anymore. There's no more questioning. He's a legitimate rotation pitcher. Now, in this rotation, once we're healthy, he might be a 4 or 5, but nevertheless,
who cares?
He is a legitimate rotation pitcher. Then you get Blanco, who's basically a long reliever who they've stretched out. By the way, also props to Dana Brown for suggesting they needed to stretch him out. That's 100%
on him. Yeah,
that was a huge deal, and he's been excellent. Then you get Sean Dubin, who comes out and I don't even think anybody knew Sean Dubin was in the Astros system. And he comes out and gives you 4 strong innings. And then you've got Brandon Bielak, like all respect to this guy. He was just getting hit around like crazy. He comes back on short notice because of the injuries and, just kind of craziness, shows up with the bullpen depleted and gives the Astros 7 innings. I mean,
7 shutty, man.
7 shutty. 7 shutout innings. If I'm the rest of the league, the rest of the league's got to be like, God, come on, man.
Yeah, uncle.
Just exactly. It's like, what is happening? I mean, Josh Miller and Bill Murphy.
Oh,
golf clap
seriously.
All the way.
Again, I mean, we're handing out, mid-season reports and, these guys are off the charts and deserve all the credit because they do. They have the talent, but at the same time, they're developing these guys and encouraging them and putting them in positions to go out there and succeed. And it's kind of funny to me in this 2023 season where there's just been an absolute epidemic of injuries top to bottom from every organization, watching what the Astros are capable of doing. I mean, I know that the Rangers have lost Jacob deGrom, but at the same time, they're relatively healthy and getting people that are overachieving. But at the same time, I'm watching a lot of organizations come rolling through Houston, and we go on the road and, we're depleted. And that's why we're not winning games. The Astros, they don't say that. They roll in and everybody says, I thought these guys were beat to hell. You don't have a McCullers. You don't have Luis Garcia. You don't have Urquidy. And all of a sudden you're like, Bielak gave you 7 shutout. This guy's been in the minor leagues. You get Ronel Blanco. This guy was, a borderline, bullpen guy. Now he's pitching, starting games for you. And good Lord, JP France. We talk so much about Hunter Brown being the rookie of the year. What a phenom, electric velocity, power slider, this absolute nasty curveball. And guess what? JP France, whose JP might stand for just pitch, France.
Nice.
Going out there, and he's giving you 7 shutty now. He's got 6 consecutive quality starts going out there and pitching your team into victories. And I think that now he's leading, I think, American League rookies with a minimum of 50 innings in his ERA. So, wow, they just keep coming at you. It's unbelievable. And the bullpen, to its credit, has been it's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride in recent days, but they are stable and they are always available. That's what's mind-blowing to me too.
Well, the bullpen is getting taxed a little bit. I mean, they've got to be getting a little tired. I mean, Phil Maton's
we are sprinting to the All-Star break to give these guys a break.
I know, exactly, because these guys have pitched a lot. And it's not their fault. I mean, the Astros have struggled with their starting rotation with injuries and everything. They couldn't they couldn't really help it, but the bullpen really has stepped up. And look, I'm willing to accept some issues occasionally here or there. Jose Abreu giving up a home run, Ryan Stanek giving up a home run in places, because it's just part of what happens when you are pushing them as hard as you are.
And it's a long season too.
And it's a very long season. So you just have to accept some of that. Fortunately, the offense is starting to come around. But if you look at the baseball number, just the pitching rotation numbers overall, with all these guys starting, right, and all the mistakes from the bullpen with Rafael Montero's problems and whatever else, they're second in ERA in all of baseball. I mean, they're 7th in the AL in batting average against, and they're 5th in all of baseball in strikeouts, right? I mean, it's just it's nothing short of incredible. It would be, I don't think you could, if you told people right at the beginning of the season, if you said, okay, our starting rotation is going to consist of JP France, Ronel Blanco, Brandon Bielak, and Sean Dubin during the week that we're playing the Rangers, they would be like, well, we got swept, obviously. No, we did not. We actually, if you count the Rockies games, we went 5-1 in those games. Yeah. I mean, remarkable, just absolutely remarkable. I think the big question now is, they don't think Javier's hurt. Dana Brown says he thinks he's just fatigued, right? He's got dead arm, and they're just going to kind of rest him through the All-Star break, which is great. That feels right to me, because he doesn't look like anything's been mechanically wrong with him or anything. He just doesn't seem to have the snap on the ball that he has before.
No, I think that's exactly what it is. The snap is missing from him. And it could, I talked to Steve Sparks about Christian Javier, and, he's hyper technical about some of the mechanics and delivery. And he's kind of saying, Javier is known for that invisible, where, he, like you said, he snaps that spin rate and it kind of floats through the zone at the top part, and it never really comes back down to earth because he defies gravity with the spin rate.
Right.
And Sparky kind of said he's pushing the ball up there. He's not really getting that extension and snapping, pulling down with that pitch. And I think that is a result of the shoulder maybe being a little bit, in his words, gummy. I'm not sure what that means, but maybe the viscosity of the oil in the shoulder is a little sticky. So it's not coming through. Yeah. So it's not coming through as fluid as it normally does. And that's just a process of a season and a lot of action on that shoulder. Mm-hmm. And I think that once he works through that and gets through the dead arm, which is a real thing for both pitchers, infielders, outfielders, it's just, you go through it and your arm just says, you know what? I've kind of had enough. I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and you got to force it a little bit. But it's once you get that second wind, you're going to be all right. And keep in mind with Christian Javier, started half the season last season as a bullpen guy, and then he moved himself into the rotation. So starting the season as a starter is much different than starting in the bullpen. So cut him a little bit of slack. The stuff is going to be there. It just might take a little while, or this All-Star break to kind of get him back and rest that arm and revive it a little bit for this home stretch after the All-Star break.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think people forget that he started in the bullpen last year. He also pitched in the World Baseball Classic. I mean, he pitched all the way through, into November. It's not really a
those
shot.
are hyper valid points that we keep forgetting about. Is that damn lockout last year pushed the World Series back, and then you had a short offseason, a huge spring training, a normal spring training, and the WBC. You're right. Those are very good points.
Yeah, he's I feel like he's going to turn it around. And I think I say rest him. I mean, just go ahead, let him get the rest he needs. Let him take care of that shoulder. Get him and get that massage therapist working. Get that cupping going. If I see a bunch of dark spots on his shoulder, I'm like, there you go. Get that cupping working. Whatever you need, get that synovial fluid moving. Because we're going to need him down the stretch for sure. Yeah, synovial fluid. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, that's
I pulled that right out of my bag of tricks. Now we can talk about, however, some positive news on the injury front. Yordan Alvarez is hitting. They think he'll probably get a rehab stint right after the All-Star break, which is phenomenal. Also, by the way, Jose Urquidy looks like he's going to be getting a rehab stint shortly. That's going to be huge for the rotation, especially if he can come back healthy and pitch the way we all think he can.
Yeah.
With him and Yordan, I mean, it's like getting Yordan back. We talked about the cascade effect of all these things, but getting Yordan back is such a big deal. And we just forget, we're like, oh, right, Yordan, he's going to come back and crush 1 million home runs. It's like, we're just spoiled.
How many teams out there go, man, if we could only go out there and trade or find a guy who is an Adonis in a uniform and hits power bombs every time he swings the bat and he's left-handed, gosh, that'd be so great to pick up. And guess what? Dana Brown doesn't have to do anything. He just has to activate Yordan Alvarez, and here he is. So that will create some issues, because if he does take DH or left field, then you've got to wonder about Yainer Diaz. You've got to wonder about Corey Julks. But at the same time, to your point earlier, your bench gets that much better. Yep. So there's going to be some interesting lineup choices for Dusty down the stretch when Yordan comes back. And Urquidy getting back in that rotation, he's such an innings eater that your bullpen might actually get better when Urquidy comes back. But then again, you have decisions to make. Renel Blanco, Brandon Bielak, some of these guys, and you're going. It's almost like Seth Martinez last season in the bullpen going, dude, you've got a 2.3 ERA, but we just don't have room for you. So it's kind of a wealth of riches that you're going to have to massage yourself through. But a couple of negatives, Brantley with a little bit of a setback, and Altuve, we're still waiting to hear on the MRI for him. And no offense to Michael, but Altuve might be the bigger one that we've got to worry about a little bit. I want to make sure that he's okay and that we get him back for the stretch run, maybe after the All-Star break also.
Yeah, they did say yesterday that he didn't feel the same level of pain that he did after he had the oblique strain earlier in the year, and they're taking that as a positive sign.
I hope so.
Yeah, but we don't know until the MRI comes back. You're right. Until that comes back and shows we're all good. Brantley, I kind of wonder, how much longer does this go on before they're finally like, yeah, it's just not going to happen? I mean, I don't know anything about what's going on, obviously. I'm not in the training room. But it does feel kind of ominous.
No, but I feel like the question is, how long can we wait, and how long is there a deadline to where him coming back is ineffective? I
Right.
don't know if that makes any sense, because if
totally.
he comes back September 15th, is that going to be enough to make him an effective weapon in the postseason? If he comes back September 1st, is that still, or, because, I don't know, is that enough time to figure out if Michael Brantley is back and a weapon in this lineup? Because I feel like if he's 100%, he is a weapon. And it's going to take 100% Michael Brantley to push a Corey Julks out of the way, or push
Right.
a Chas McCormick out of the way.
You're right. And also you start thinking about, well, then they're going to start looking at September call-ups too. They're going to expand the roster a little bit. They're going to have some opportunities for some guys who might deserve the opportunities, and you might want them to get those opportunities before next season.
Well, and I completely forgot, I don't know how, but I completely forgot the trade deadline. You need to make a decision on Michael Brantley. And if you do feel like you need to go get that bat, and if Michael Brantley is the bat that you can get, then you're okay. Yeah. But if it's not, then you don't want to waste that one trade deadline you have not going and getting a bat that you feel might help your team.
Yeah, I have a note for next week. We're going to dig a little bit into the trade deadline, mainly because we've got to figure out where the Astros assets lie. I mean, even if they are buyers,
what are you willing to give up?
Yeah, what are you willing to give up to get back the kind of, starting level talent? And we'll definitely dig into that next week. I will say the Major League Baseball draft is this weekend, which is Dana Brown's, that's his level, his area of expertise. I'm real curious what your thoughts on this, Blummer. Like the last couple seasons, the Astros have really almost entirely gone after college players. And it's obvious that they're trying to rebuild, a system that's been depleted over the past few seasons. I feel like that's probably going to be their strategy again. But from a position standpoint, you've got to think that the vast bulk of their choices are going to be in the infield. I mean, they have nobody in the infield really that's going to be challenging anytime soon. And obviously pitching, you're always looking for great arms, but I feel like they're going to have to just draft like a boatload of infielders and then figure out where it happens, figure out where it goes from there.
Well, and I also think that this is a different year in the sense that all of the penalties are lifted on the Astros.
Yes.
So, Dana Brown understands that this is a moment for him moving into this spot as GM of the Astros where he can actually have a serious impact. Very similar to what Jeff Luhnow did when the Astros were struggling. They had all these early picks. Now, Dana Brown doesn't have the number one picks like Jeff Luhnow did, but he's going to do his homework and make sure that he picks up these guys. And I agree with you in the sense that, if he can go get that high-level infielder, he will go get it because Abreu has 2 more years on his deal. Jose Altuve will probably find himself in an extension 3 to 5 years so that, he should be there for a little while. Jeremy Pena, you've got him for 3 or 4 more years, if not more, depending on contract situation or extension. And then Alex Bregman has 1 more year on his deal. So you've got to – and you want to be able to protect these guys and not burn them out as they get a little bit older and find guys to move in there. So you do have time, but at the same time, if you want to develop that talent, you've got to go find them now. And starting pitching, like you said, just get arms, as many arms as you can. But I know that the trend here in recent years has been get that collegiate athlete because they're a little bit easier to predict because they have a little bit of a track record playing at a high level, probably Division I baseball, which is comparable to AA baseball. And they're older, they're stronger, they're smarter, they understand the game a little bit better, and they can get to the big leagues a little bit quicker. And I think that's the impact. But if you can find a live, crazy, freaky good athlete in a high school level, why not give them a shot?
I think obviously the main thing they're going to be doing is once again raiding the SEC because the SEC baseball, like you said, it's like AA. And look, if you look at what's happened, like they have a couple of guys like that have just sped through the minor leagues and are already at AAA or AA. And you've got to figure that's going to be what they're going to want to do. They're going to try and fast track some of these guys to get them up here so they can get some opportunities. I'm going to be fascinated to see what they do. The Major League Baseball draft is the worst of all drafts because I don't know if it's I think it's 157 rounds now. I'm not sure how long it goes.
They've actually shrunk it.
I
I think it's
know.
like 30 or something like that
It's
now.
just
But
crazy.
back in my day, it was like 70 rounds.
I mean, it's just so long. It's just so long.
Hmm.
And then they're drafting guys from like East Village State of the Hamptons, and you're like, I don't know what, and, this like they're drafting guys from like a high school that had 50 kids in it. It's just I
Yeah,
don't know
he's
how they
playing in a
find all these
parochial
people.
league that had like 3 teams.
I don't know how they find these people. Like I don't know what the
It is
scouting.
amazing.
Good on
Oh,
the
hey,
scouting
dude.
department.
Hey, dude, just go to the Perfect Game website and then look at some of these recruiting websites and some of these scouting websites. Now you don't have to travel. You just got to upload a video, and all of a sudden you got eyes on you.
Yeah, man. Well, if you're trying to get in the big leagues, I mean, who can
Yeah.
blame them? And now everybody can make a video. 10-year-olds can make good videos. So that's
Shoot, we make videos. Psh.
I know, and that's a shock. That's a real shock. Nobody wants us actually making them, for them. We can do it for ourselves. But would anybody
Yep.
hire us? No, hell no. Of course not. Nobody's
Nah.
going to hire us to make videos for them. We can do this. This is fine. It's
I've got
like
good hand gestures. Yeah.
Exactly. I will say one more thing before we go. First of all, I love the fact that they showed the anniversary of the B game the other
Yes.
day,
Thank you.
which was excellent because, first of all, it was like your game. I mean, you
I
got
know.
that
Who knew?
3-run jack. It was like the Jeff Blum welcome back to San Diego, and then the Bees just took it over, man.
That was wild.
Out of curiosity, does anybody actually know how they ended up under the jacket of like the ball girl? Like, was that ever explained?
I'm not sure, but never discount revenge at bats. That's why I always talk about them, because I had several of my own, and that was one day where I got my revenge on the San Diego Padres.
Nice.
But at the same time, it was wild because I don't know if you remember a guy named Kyle Blanks. He's about 6'8", 300 pounds, playing left field for the Padres, and he comes scampering off out of left field like a girl. No offense, but comes running out like, oh my gosh, and we're like, what the hell is going on? And then all of a sudden you hear this kind of like zzz, you could hear this swarm come through, and they just got, it's weird because they went underneath and up into the jacket. And rumor has it that there was some kind of snack inside the ball girl's jacket,
like sugar or something.
And that's what attracted them. But I didn't. Who knew it was going to attract 1 billion of those bees? It was crazy.
And they had to call out the beekeeper, who was the hero.
Sunday.
Yeah, on a Sunday, who was clearly the hero.
Can you imagine getting that phone call? You're like, oh, bro, man, I'm like on the porch, having a toddy, and you what? You want me to
what?
Bees?
Where?
Petco Park? What?
Like, I can be there tomorrow.
He gets the tip of the cap and the standing O.
I love it. He's like, I could be there in the morning. They're like, no, bro, like now, like in the middle of the game
is
like
happening
right now. He's like, I got to go on the field. Yeah, that
like,
guy
I'm in my
must
boxers right now, bro.
So last thing, I don't know if Rob Manfred is watching Wimbledon.
No, dear
but
God.
If he is, I'm just going to suggest he note the way that they call in and out on balls, and how quickly and efficiently, how just ease, no problem. Nobody complains. It's simple, works well. I like Wimbledon, frankly. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun experience. I think, by the way, I think tennis athletes are hyper underrated. Like, you watch them play tennis, there's some crazy athletic stuff that happens out there. But this whole thing with Hawkeye, bro, bring it. Listen, Rob Manfred, if you are listening to me right now, and you're not, but if you are,
gosh, he's in an echo chamber.
Yeah, right. I mean, that thing is amazing. Like, if you're not familiar, watch a Wimbledon, and if somebody hits a shot, the player can say, I don't think that ball was in. And they can go immediately within seconds, and they show you the computer video of where it actually landed to within a millimeter. And nobody complains. Everybody's like, okay, I guess it was in, or okay, it was out. Good, good challenge. And it takes like that. I'm just saying balls and strikes.
Yeah. Well, you could do you could do boundaries too. You could do fair foul. You could do home runs, and then you could do balls and strikes. And to your point, Hawkeye is being experimented with. It's being it's being worked into the system. I think that it is that good in tennis that they are trying to find a way to make it work in baseball. I just think they're trying to calibrate what that strike zone is going to look like, because if you put it at the front of the plate, I could throw you a 12-6 curveball that bounces on the plate and still be a strike. So I think that's what they're trying to eliminate, is where do they make the front part of the zone? Where do they make the top of the zone? Because you could hit the back of home plate if you really think about it. If it was a 3D plate, you could hit the back of the plate and it'd cross at your neck. And you're trying to calibrate, the height, the depth, all that kind of thing. But you're right in the sense that Hawkeye is a very accurate tool, and it's immediate. That's the thing, is the timing of the game. It's instantaneous. And I'm sure you know this already, but they play it on the big screens at the Wimbledon or wherever they're at. Instantly. So everybody in the stands, everybody on the court, everybody on the field could go, oh, got me. Okay, let's move on. And like you said, nobody complains. They just accept it as fact.
Now, you're right. It is simpler in tennis because all you're doing is covering the boundaries, which is a simpler thing to do, right? Because you just shoot from straight up and you can see it. There's not the three-dimensional element you're talking about, which does make it more complex. But, anything would be better.
Yeah, I do love that they rely on the human element first.
Yes, 100%. That's the way it should be, right? You let people call it. If it's challenged, and then you figure it out. That's ultimately, I think, with the level of technology that we've developed, particularly with AI and all these other things that are being developed, there's no reason why the rules in these things can't be improved, right?
Agreed.
I think it's just an improvement. Although the other day I saw Jerry Seinfeld on Rich Eisen. Jerry's a big Mets fan. He basically said that he thinks nothing should be changed. Like, there should be no designated hitter. Everybody should have to hit.
He wants to go back to old school.
Yeah, he's like, that's not the way the game was. He was, it's classic Jerry Seinfeld. He's like,
it is. That's right up his alley. I mean, that's more fuel for his stand-up, man.
It is. It's fantastic. All right, Blummer, any final thoughts? We're headed. What do we know about the Mariners other than they haven't been very good?
Oh my gosh, it's been crazy.
I mean, what are the Astros going to have to do against them? I mean, they do. Obviously, we need to figure out who's going to be pitching first. But I guess more of the same, right? Because the Mariners have pretty good pitching, from what I can tell. But I don't think they have a great bullpen, and I think they haven't been hitting the ball very well. What have you seen so far from them, or have you done much prep yet?
I've done a little bit and just watching them from afar. Their offense is underperforming. Their bullpen is – Scott Service abuses bullpens, and I think those guys are finally starting to show some of that fatigue. I don't think George Kirby has been who they want him to be. Robbie Ray's out of the rotation. Right. I think there's just certain pieces that they're underperforming, because I had them being, the competition for the Astros in the American League West when this season started. But I think that they're just kind of – in that funk. I think that they're going to be a little more ramped up when they come in here to Houston, because the last time they were here, King Jordan and everybody lit them up and put them out. So I think that there's a little vendetta, maybe a little more intensity for them. But at the same time, the Astros don't seem to be fazed by teams that come in here and don't like them. So it should be a good series. I think it'll be competitive, but I still think the Astros have enough. And Fromber's going to throw, whether it's tonight, whether it's Friday night. I think he's going to throw and be fine. Javier's the only question mark for me. I don't know if they throw him, and if he does, how is he going to perform? But on a personal note, tune in to Friday night's broadcast, because Todd Callis will have the night off, and yours truly, Jeff Blum, will be doing the play-by-play.
Yes! Oh, man. I'm ready for that. I am 100%.
Thank you for the support, and I will be joined by Michael Stanton, Michael Bourne, and Clay Hensley. So I'll be running the ship, and I'll have some good quality guys with me, and I can't wait for it.
Blummer, that is going to be fun. Have you done how many times have you done play-by-play before?
I've only done play-by-play on the radio in spring training.
Okay.
And I've done like 3 innings. That's it.
So you're going to really need to prep Friday.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're going to need to be ready. You're going to need to be TK ready.
I don't know if I'll be TK ready. That dude's a beast as far as getting prepared, man. But I'm going to pick his brain today and see, get a little insight on some techniques and stuff like that. But as far as preparation, my gosh, dude, Todd Callis is the king of kings in that booth for me.
Is. I am 100% ready for the very first Jeff Blum home run call.
Yes,
I am 100% ready.
I have one home run call under my belt. It was in Chicago 3 or 4 years ago. TK had to make a bathroom run, and Yuli Gurriel led off an inning in Chicago and hit a home run, and I was not ready at all. This time, I will be ready.
What did you do?
I was like, dear God, he hit a home run. Home run! I was like...
Yeah, you got to get your catchphrases ready. You got to be like, Yahtzee! You know? Because TK, I will give him credit. He's really good at the quick adjustment, where he'll be in the middle of a sentence talking about something, and it'll be so like, speaking of this, he's pretty good at weaving that together. And he's very good at it. Obviously, he's a professional baseball announcer. He needs to be. I'm going to say, Blummer, to prepare for that, you should watch a lot of Brockmire.
There you go.
Start watching some Brockmire. Get a little bit of that.
Get the censor button ready.
Get the censor button ready. Watch a little bit of, and now at bat, fatty boombalatti. It's like, I think one of the things I've laughed at harder than anything else in my life was that one of that very first episodes of that show, when this big, huge fat guy came up there and they threw a curveball inside and it hit him in the stomach because it was sticking out so far. And Brockmire goes, well, that was not entirely unexpected. I laughed my ass off. That was pretty good. Oh, my God. Well, Blummer, we're all going to be listening for that. Everybody get ready. Get ready. This is going to be a good one. I'm excited for that. So we will be back next week just before the All-Star game with a fresh pod. We'll talk some All-Star. Blummer, what are your give us a little teaser of what your favorite All-Star memory is. If you can think of one.
Probably going to Mexico. Because I've never been. So
you don't have to have gone to actually have a good memory.
Then in that case, so you're assuming I'm watching the All-Star game.
Yeah, I guess that's an unfair assumption. Which part of Mexico?
I would say in between margaritas and guacamole bowls. I'm not sure what my favorite highlight was.
Well, the Midsummer Classic, Blummer. Come on, man! You can't just go to Cabo and leave that behind.
Oh, well, man! Actually, I am the captain of checking out.
I don't blame you, buddy. I really don't. Well, okay. So we'll discuss the Astros in the All-Star game. How about that?
Yes.
Thanks to everybody listening. Huge thanks to all our listeners. We'll be back with another podcast brought to you by Bet Online. Obviously, you guys are great. Liking, subscribing, commenting. Keep it up. Super thankful for everybody. So have a great weekend. All-Stars next week. The draft is on Sunday. So as always, go Astros.